One thing I think is really important here is to remember how important having one really good source is. All right? I can tell you that probably at least half of the best stories that I've ever done in my career have come from a small handful of sources. One police source, in fact, was responsible for numerous front page stories that I had in the New York Post. I can't even tell you how many front pages this source gave me, okay? So how do you start going down that road of going from having one conversation or one meeting, getting one good story, to getting a lot more from this source, to turn this person into your Mark Felt, AKA Deep Throat, right? Or John Walter, AKA the guy who handed the Times all those boxes of documents. How do you get to that level? Well, I call them all the time, even if I know there's probably nothing going on. This police source I was referring to, I used to call this guy every single day. Every day I called him. Hey, how's it going? What's going on with you? And guess what? I would always share something. Oh, you know what? I got to tell you, I was in the office today and I heard this weird thing going on. Just blah, 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 right? Chit chat, friendly stuff. We're pals, right? And I would always say, what else is going on? What else is going on? What else is going on? All right? And this one source, I actually got angry with him because one day I had this conversation with him. Chit chat, how are you? What's going on? Nothing much, okay. The next day, I happened to be walking around in this neighborhood where he was a high-ranking police source, and I saw a flyer, community board meeting, da-da-da-da. I'm like, that's in his, what? So I called him up, I said, what's going on? You told me nothing was going on. I saw the thing. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. Listen, that's not important. Nothing big is going to happen there. Hey, but you know what? Something did just happen interesting that you might find of interest. Did I find it of interest? This story then became the front page of the New York Post for 5 straight days. 5 straight days. It was spectacular. So staying in touch with somebody, always asking what's going on, and knowing that it's a two-way street, right? You do have some power in this relationship. You can yell at your source. Hey, come on, how many times did I call you this week, right? And now I see this thing on the street. What are you doing to me? I need a story here. Okay?
What was the story that landed on the page for 5 straight days?
So, this woman meets this guy in a bar. They hook up. Afterwards, she's not too happy about it because he does not call her back. So she's pissed, but what are you going to do? These things happen in life. Fast forward a year, and she's on the street, and she sees him again, and she just gets all angry again. And she thinks of a plan in her head how she's going to get back at this dude. So she pretends to be happy to see him. Hi, how are you? Hey, you know what? We should get together again. He's like, okay. And then she goes home and she tells her boyfriend that this guy raped her, which wasn't true. The boyfriend gets angry too. And he calls his friend and they set a trap for this guy. But before they set the trap, they went shopping. They went to Home Depot. And they found some wire, thin wire. And they're like, you know, we could spell something with this wire. So they spelled rapist, and they got some kind of a blowtorchy thing, and they were going to brand this guy's backside rapist. It just so happens that the boyfriend of this woman was the son of an extremely prominent prosecutor in Queens. And the two of them, the boyfriend and this other friend, get this guy in a hotel room and they zap him with a taser and they get their little blowtorchy thing and they're spelled out the wires that they spelled out rapist and they start blow torturing like the wire, get it red hot. And then they hit him with the wire, and he goes nuts and starts screaming. And the hotel gets alerted, and everybody runs out. And of course, the cops found out what happened, and everybody's arrested. Charles Testagrossa was the father. He was one of the most prominent prosecutors in Queens, and his son was involved in this crazy caper, right? And the reason that I got the exclusive and the follow-up and the follow-up and the follow-up and the follow-up is because of this one source who I called every single day. I did a talk, just to give you something interesting, I did a talk in Arizona at a conference last year, and I asked, this is a big room of people, like 40 people, and I asked, how many people here call their source every day, a favorite source every day? There was like one or two. I'm like, what are you people doing? Go deep. Get these people to tell you stuff that's more than what they have given you. All right. I will, just as a little aside, I'll tell you a little story here. That conference that I was at, I got to speak at that conference at the same time of another speaker named John Carreyrou. Anyone hear of John Carreyrou? So John Carreyrou has only won 2 Pulitzers so far, and probably should have won a third. He's a Wall Street Journal reporter. And he had just come out with this, Bad Blood, okay? So he didn't win the Pulitzer for this. This is a takedown of this Silicon Valley company called Theranos, right? It's being made into a movie starring Jennifer Lawrence, okay? So this guy's had some success. And he gives his talk at this conference in Arizona. The next day I was giving a talk on how to do investigative work, so it was pretty timely. And in his talk, he revealed something totally remarkable, which I love, which is that his second Pulitzer, he won in part because he got the help of this guy who was a billing expert. It was all about Medicaid fraud. And he had this expert who really knew Medicaid fraud and walked him through. And he stayed in touch with this guy. And a year, 2 years later, this guy called him and said, hey, you know what, there's something funny going on. There's this tech company that I hear about, like they're just doing some weird billing stuff. He's a billing expert. And he said, I heard about this. One source, 2 career-making stories. One that won the Pulitzer and the other that is being made into a movie and is, by the way, a bestseller. Okay? So if you don't think one source is enough to make your career, John Carreyrou will tell you otherwise. If you're a journalist and need free and premium resources for your work, please visit thehatchinstitute.org. If you're a journalist and are in need of news archives and a database for finding people, go to expertaccess.org.